Thanks for joining me again today. I am back with the second part of my interview with Chin Injeti. If you didn't catch the first half, go back to Monday and listen to that, and then come on back here and listen to the second part. Chin is a singer, songwriter, multi instrumentalist, and producer, and he's worked with some really, really heavy names in the business. And he's just got so much to share. I can't wait for you to hear it all. I do want to give you a little heads up. We had a challenging noise situation, background noise situation where Chin was recording. So you're going to hear some background noise, and that's just the way we're going to roll. But what he had to say was so great. I didn't want to lose out on the great content. So I can't wait for you to hear it. Let's go. I think for musicians, the US is often seen as that sort of holy grail, mostly because it's just a way bigger market
Yeah.
and potentially a way bigger payoff. And so it follows that the US has given us some of these mega stars that you've worked with, Pink, Eminem,
Yeah.
etc. Canada has created a handful as well. Drake is Canadian.
Yeah.
But I think that enormous success is often viewed through the lens of the US market. Do you want to talk about making the leap from being, a Canadian guy to working with a lot of either in the US or with a lot of US artists?
I think that landscape has changed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It just, I mean, it's still the same in the way that if you have a record in the States, it's going to be big everywhere. That's a given, right?
Yeah.
But now, because of the Drakes and the Weekends and whoever else follows,
Right.
it's changed things, and thank God for them, because they've really held on to what we're talking about, their instinct,
Yeah. Yeah.
and especially Drake, that camp, and he knew it was important to rep your city and your country. It was
Yep.
important to tell the world you're from Toronto, because when you have well, at least a city like Toronto, and I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Uh, when you carry a city on your back, it's going to carry you. It might take a while, but once they got you, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something. That's something that every Toronto artist that breaks out feels, right?
Yeah.
But they feel it from the inception, right? So you always see those things on YouTube. Oh, they just played the Mod Club and everybody's singing the song, and the artist is, holy shit, he can't believe they're singing his song. Or
Yeah.
you've seen that thing so many times, right? You don't see that here.
Yeah.
You have to, um, here being Vancouver, you have to, uh, really engage your community, and your community has to take ownership of who you are as an artist and want to share
Yeah.
that with the world. Toronto artists have really, myself included, have really benefited from that.
Yeah.
We've enjoyed that, and it made us proud of where we're from and who we are. Like, even till this day in Toronto, there's legends in different parts of that city that Vancouverites will never hear about, or the rest of the world will never hear
Mm-hmm.
about. But there are heroes. There are people.
Yeah.
Um, I find that happens more in big cities because we need each other more.
Yeah.
We're it's this cultural amalgam of
Yeah.
people, and we need each other to get by. It
Yeah.
doesn't seem to be the case here. Um, I've never seen this feeling of, we're going to stand behind this artist and make them big, or tell the
Mm-hmm.
world about them, or own them, right?
Yeah.
The industry did that, or if they go to Toronto, they become bigger.
Mm-hmm.
It never happens from here. I don't know what it is. I think I used to always blame it on geography, and I don't know. I don't know. I think it's a mindset. Sometimes I think it just has to grow bigger, to so artists can enjoy that, and I
Mm-hmm.
hope that happens. And maybe it's happening now. I don't know, but I don't feel it. But when I go back to Toronto, I see it constantly happening. You
Yeah.
know,
I think there's a different.
And and sorry to finish the and I'm
Yeah,
so
go.
sorry to just to finish my answer to that question is like yes, it's important to be successful in the States, and there's a prestige that comes with it. But now the mindset's a little different because if you are big in your hometown, we're just like everything else is extra, you know.
Mhm,
And I think some people from bigger cities are feeling that,
mhm,
you know, and I can't wait for this city to feel that and other cities to feel that. You know, the that
mhm,
that you'll feel like if you go to the States right now and you go if you tell people you're from Toronto, I mean,
mhm.
they look at you different. It wasn't like that in the 90s. Ah, you're just from Toronto, right? But
Yeah,
now it's kind of like it's different. In fact, it's so funny when when I first came to Vancouver, I used to speak the slang and the just the intonation in my voice is very like I'm an East Coast kid. Like
yeah.
Toronto's so influenced by New York at the time, so we used a lot of that slang and just the way we spoke our vernacular was different. And people here used to make fun of me all the time for it,
Mm,
um, in a friendly way. But
yeah,
now, I mean, kids from Vernon are speaking like they're from
yeah.
Scarborough, and it's hilarious, right?
Yeah,
Like it's just like the culture of that city is it's everywhere, and the reason it's everywhere is because everyone takes pride in it. The people
yeah,
who from there takes pride in it, and for me, Vancouver, there's so much to take pride in,
yep.
and we just don't wear it in a bigger way.
I think Vancouver's a difficult city. There's not the same sense of there's not the same sense of community in Vancouver that I
No,
think you experience in some other cities,
I
that
think
I
you're right.
think is a really important piece of that puzzle that you're talking about around a city sort of claiming ownership of an artist. It's hard to do that if there's no sense of community to start with.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, and the bodies that are here to encourage that. I don't know if they're encouraging it. I don't know. Giving
Mm,
money to people is a good thing.
mhm.
Um, Creating ventures to put people together is a great thing.
Yeah,
To put focus on mental health is a great thing.
yeah.
But is anyone actually talking about, look, you need to show up. You need to be present. We need, like, is there that feeling of we need you to make sure that this person could be heard all over the world because you're that important to that what's
Mhm.
happening. That's what happens back home.
I think Vancouver is a weirdly insular city.
Also a weirdly
It's
insecure city.
yeah,
And it's not
yeah.
a and I'm not banging on Vancouver. Like obviously it's
No,
my
no.
home and
I,
I live here. Um
I'm born and bred. I mean, it's my city too,
yeah,
but there's some stuff here.
yeah. There's some stuff here. You're right. I mean, you and I come, or maybe you don't, I don't know, but when I came here, oh yeah, yeah, there's a Universal Music here. Yeah, I can still do
Mm,
business. Oh yeah, there's a Sony, there's a Warner, there's a everyone. Nobody. Nobody here.
yeah,
Spotify could have had
yeah,
offices here easily, but they don't because there's no reason for them to. I know that for a fact.
yeah,
I've heard
yeah,
that from people at Spotify.
yeah.
There's no, a platform like that and many platforms like that thrive because of community, right?
Mhm.
Nobody shows up for anything here.
Yeah.
Everything's always like a after hours show, an independent show,
Mhm.
uh, a house show. Everything's like a
Mhm.
private club. We should have at least 6, 7 local bands or 10, 20 local bands that can sell out the Commodore. We should.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only independent band that I know that could do that, to my knowledge, indie band, without any management, without any record company, without any publicity, are the
Mhm.
Boom Booms from East Van, and
Mhm.
that's based solely on community because
Mm.
they're like They represent their community. They
Mhm.
love their community. They're so
Mhm.
proud of East Van, not just in words, but in action, you know?
Yep.
Toronto's full of those. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. We need more of those here.
Yeah.
Like, here, like you'll see something like I'll stop after this because I don't want people to think I don't love the city, but I'm hoping what I'm saying actually helps. And
Yeah.
if somebody wants to tell me I'm totally wrong, they can reach out and tell me, but and teach me because I want to learn. I want to learn, but it's like this. I'm still putting out music on all the platforms, right?
Yep.
I do it for different reasons. I have no aspirations of being a pop star, you know. Um, I just want to put music out because I'm a creator. But for people
Mhm.
who do want that other thing, it's like they give up after one song, or if that
Mm.
song like doesn't hit this amount of streams in this amount of time, they just kind of give
Mhm.
up on the song and they move to the next song, and they're wasting
Mhm.
so much money and not building community doing that.
Mhm.
What we should be doing is, hey, I have this song, and then you should share it with your friends. It doesn't You don't necessarily have to share it with your music community. You can share it with friends and family. Share it
Mhm.
and say, can you spread this around? And then go to the music community, do the same. And it could be a couple months. Let it keep happening, you
Yeah.
know? And things grow over time if they really are special and real, right? You
Yeah.
could you could pay for numbers. You could pay for uh
Yep. Yep.
you could pay to be in articles and all this, whatever, right? But you can't pay for real support.
Mhm.
And you have to encourage people. Like sometimes putting music out turns artists into beggars, right?
Yeah.
But you don't always have to be a beggar. You could do it with dignity and ask your community to
Yeah.
support you because the community works both ways, right?
Yeah.
So it's okay for you to ask, and then it's okay for you to show up for people as well. And I think if more and more people did that here, we would see more touring, we'd see more numbers, we'd see more gigs being sold out. We would uh, see a reciprocating energy
Yeah.
happening,
Yeah.
right? And
And I don't know if that comes from like there's not a lot of great venues in Vancouver anymore for original live music. There's
I
fewer
don't
than there used to be anyway, but I don't know if that's because they weren't getting filled because the community wasn't there to support it or like a chicken and the egg, you know?
I don't think it has anything to do with the venues. You know what I think it has to do with? It has to do with culture.
Yeah.
The culture on social media is to put a shine on yourself. So you take the selfie, you talk about
Yeah.
yourself, you talk about whatever you're doing, how big or small. You don't really spend time talking about other people. Look how great
Mhm.
they are. But you have to only do it if you believe it. See, that's the thing,
Truth.
right? And I don't
Yeah.
know how many people actually believe that other people are great. Is that just like a thing that you say or that thing that you show up for, right?
Yeah.
I see it in my
Yeah.
community. I see it in my community all the time. There's sometimes something really gets really big, and you can't help but support it because you have
Mhm.
to. And I've been blessed to be part of those projects at least 12 times in my life, like really
Mhm.
huge things that like it just caught on, and whether people like it or not, it's just dope, and they're just gonna support it. But then there's other things that sometimes you just need to give some things a chance.
Yeah.
And then as the artist, you have to keep going at it. Like a great example is my friend, and now everybody's friend, Luca Fogali. Um,
Mhm.
I remember I one of the first people that ever saw him, and he's changed quite a bit, but he kept at it. He kept
Mhm.
at it, and now he's filling these huge rooms and touring all over the world. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of examples like that, but I don't know how many bands. Like he never took the cheap way out.
Mhm.
He never cheapened what he did. He was so great, and his whole lexicon is like full of gratitude
Mhm.
and it's really authentic, and he sounds great, and there's people that like that. Imagine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think the thing is like not giving up
Yep.
because if you don't, then and which ties in back to that other question you're saying, like it really ties into the whole thing. It's like if your city and your country, like, but let's just talk about the city and even smaller, your community believes and what you're doing,
Yeah.
that shit just spreads like wildfire. And next thing you know, you have a record in the States that's doing well, right?
Yep.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Some producers get involved with songwriting and some don't. Do those things cross over for you or stay pretty separate?
well, I'm a composer and I'm a multi instrumentalist,
Yep.
so inevitably it crosses over. But I don't go into it saying like, "Oh, I gotta get publishing on this song, on this
Right.
record." I want to go there to facilitate people's ideas. That's all. And if
Yeah.
it happens that I'm writing, then I'm writing. And sometimes it's like it's skewed, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to say what you call writing. But yeah, but my intention isn't to get writing on every song.
Right.
I just want to help make a nice record.
Yeah. Um and in your career these days, the writing that you do you do a lot of like co-writing or solo writing, or what does that look like for you these days?
No, I never actually do solo writing for an artist. Like I don't sit at home and write an
Yeah.
artist song for an artist. I did once. I did
Yeah.
once, and they used it, but they changed two, three, four words. I guess they felt they needed to.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it warranted that, like the song. I don't know if the song needed that or not. Again, it's a fine line, right?
Yeah.
So I try it. I actually don't even try to write for people on my own. I like the collaboration,
Yep.
and I don't want to set myself up for disappointment,
Yeah.
right?
And the writing that you like you said, because you still release music
Yeah,
currently, is that stuff solo, right?
yeah.
Solo,
There-
I don't even know how to conjugate that
It's
verb.
I know
You
what
know what
you
I mean,
mean,
though?
but it's both. It's both. It's sometimes
Yeah.
like a good chunk of it is just I wrote it because I felt something, and then a good chunk of it's collaboration because there's that brilliant. Those people are that brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, can you tell us a little bit about your songwriting process?
yeah. It takes some in the very beginning. It takes some isolation, and I just have to like get back to myself, and
Yeah.
really think about who I want to be and what I want to sound like and what am I feeling.
Hmm.
And then after that, and that's mostly like mental
Yeah.
and just a lot of listening and spending time alone. And then after that, it's just like playing instruments, making sounds. Sometimes they come out of mistakes by
Hmm.
myself again. And then I do that same thing with other people.
Hmm.
And and then it grows. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know what comes first, the horse or the carriage.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
sometimes like two words
Hmm.
can start it off. Sometimes just a feeling in the air, something you saw in a movie, a phrase you read in a book, or your kids might say something. Most of it used to be just like instrumental, but now it's very like life. Life is kind
Yeah.
of a big part of it. And then for me, I think it's way better when it's collaborative.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, no real formula.
Yeah. Well, and I just think it's fascinating to have a little bit of a window into people's creative processes,
Yeah.
and the fact that for some people a really formulaic approach works really well for them because they get great
Yes.
output at the other end of it. And for some people, that has to have nothing to do with it. And it has to be more along the lines of what you're talking about just like getting settled with themselves and getting in touch. And then whatever comes out and everything in between.
Yeah. I feel so bad for the artists that don't understand what true collaboration is about
Mm,
because they're too um, either scared or selfish or insecure. I don't know, whatever it is. My hope for every artist is to like open their hearts to get to that place. It really helps the songwriting process.
Yeah. Well, I think true collaboration is incredibly vulnerable,
Yeah, I think you're right.
and not everybody has the capacity for that.
Yeah. Like for me, the biggest thing that I'm working on,
Hmm.
my life's work now, is like to try to learn to write a good story, a good lyric.
Hmm.
It's so important to me, and I'm not very gifted in that area.
Hmm.
And I wonder, don't know why. I don't know why I'm not. And I think a lot of it has to do with being vulnerable,
Hmm.
you know. But that's something I'm working on, and I
Hmm.
find collaborating helps me with that.
Hmm.
I whenever I whenever I do collaborations, I'd like to do it with people who are lyricists and melody people more than
Hmm.
like another producer.
Hmm.
Because I think the words and the melody are the most important thing. You can figure out
Hmm.
the other stuff later.
Yeah. Well, and I think the concept of storytelling in music, and actually in all aspects of music, whether we're talking about the writing or the performance or the producing or the orchestration or the like, any and all of that,
Hmm.
I think the concept of storytelling is a really important one. It's one that I talk to students about all the time, because I think that is the vehicle by which we connect to our audience.
Absolutely.
And so that word might mean different thing in different contexts, but it's we are storytellers as creative people, whatever the creative medium is. At its heart, we are storytellers.
Yes, and as much as I love pressing the buttons and playing everything, and it looks really cool in my posts and when I'm in the big studio and blah blah blah, I wish I could just. I wish I had enough value as a songwriter that I could just walk into a room with a piece of paper and a pen and a guitar, you know? Or maybe I can, I don't know. But I wonder, I would love to be able to just to write. I just admire
Yeah.
writers so much. I wish my pen was so strong. Like I want to be so strong that people want that from me, you know?
Yeah.
It's,
I
it's,
understand that.
and it's such an honorable job and such an admirable job. And I don't think enough people give that the adoration it needs, you know?
For what it's worth, I still think that when you're the guy sitting there pushing buttons and making decisions about how the pieces fit together, I still think that your job is to be a storyteller.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's worth a
You're
lot.
using different tools to do it,
Totally.
but
Absolutely. Oh,
yeah.
yeah. A very profound statement. Um, it's like Quincy Jones, right?
Yeah.
Qu- I mean, well, when people think of Quincy, they think of, obviously the Michael Jackson record, but no one's thinking, a lot of people aren't thinking about the jazz records and the movie scores
Yeah.
and just the commercials and the other artists, right? And he always knew, he never touched any buttons unless he was playing for himself, but he always knew, or probably knows, like he just knows that Greg Philliganes is great for that keyboard part, and Eddie Van Halen is great for that solo. And what if we got
Yeah.
Vincent Price to do that narrative part? And it's
Yeah.
amazing, amazing how that happens and how his whole team happens that way. And I
Yeah.
find great producers know how to put the right people together.
Yeah.
And I'm still
Yeah.
working on that.
Yeah.
I'm still working on that as well because a lot of the times I can play mostly everything,
Yeah.
and sometimes I just like the way I make the pocket happen because I hear the pocket.
Yeah.
But then other times, it's so necessary to have somebody else play. I'm a bass player, but sometimes it's necessary to have blah 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 play the bass because his voice is different than mine,
Yeah.
and it tells a better story. So you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all about serving the song,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Um Everyone's routine in the studio looks different. Do you want to talk a little bit about your studio process leading up to being in, making a record with an artist? Any of the bits and pieces of that that feel relevant?
Like, you mean my creative process?
If you are going to work with an artist as a producer,
Uh-huh.
so remember that we're talking to folks who maybe haven't had that experience yet and don't really even know what to expect out of that experience.
Okay, so
So if you're working with an artist as a producer, what does that look like pre-production in the studio, all,
I
start to
think
finish?
it all starts with listening. I think the best
Yeah.
form of pre-production is to actually listen,
Yeah.
and don't listen to your voice, listen to theirs. If the artist sends you a song, their songs, listen to them.
Mhm.
And then after that, go to that wormhole of things that they love and influences, and go check it out. Because if you
Mhm.
truly, and also, like, work with things that you like. Don't just do
Mhm.
things for work, right? Sorry about that. 1 second.
That's all right.
Nobody calls me but spam. But uh, I I think it's just important to listen to, because that way, when you engage with the artist, then you'll know what they're looking
Yeah.
for, and to exercise that listening muscle. Like, I can tell you how important it is for producers to listen, and how many people don't. They just press their
Yeah.
buttons and they're like, "Oh, I'm this guy, so I'll make it," right? But how
Yeah.
important it is to really listen, and then maybe create something at home. I usually do it at the kitchen table, right? I
Yeah.
just plug my thing into the interface, and I make something that they might like, and then I make a folder of a bunch of things that I think they might like, right? And then
Yeah.
when they come to me, we'll talk. If they have an idea, we'll just go with it. I won't even bring the folder out. We'll just work on the thing that they made, because it's all helping the process. Me making
Mhm.
something was a great physical exercise, but then also have something already in a folder ready to go. So then
Mhm.
after that, I'll show them a folder, and I'll give them, like, it might have 10 ideas, but I'll just show them three, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, I love these." And then next thing I know, they're using the idea, right? And
Yeah.
also the fact that I made it from a good place.
Yeah.
I made it from, like, a really intentional place. So that's my process.
Yep.
That's what worked for me.
You've collaborated with a lot of artists over the
Yeah,
years,
still do.
and we talked about the sense of community in the city of Vancouver,
Mhm.
and all of those pieces up for consideration,
Huh.
working from a place of community and mutual respect and support
Yeah.
rather than competition. So I think a lot of people see the music industry as a very competitive industry, and in some ways it really is.
Mhm.
But in some ways, I mean, most of the guests that I have on here also talk about what a collaborative community, like, these are their people. There's such a community, and it's a collaborative process rather than a competitive process. So do you want to talk a little bit about what your experience has been from that perspective, and
Yeah.
how we can continue to foster a more supportive community?
Well, I think it's there already. Like, I think when people get into the
Mhm.
studio, it's always a collaborative process. It's never feels like competition, ever, ever. I've never
Yeah.
experienced that. So
Yeah.
I think it's not the artists that are making it competitive.
Yeah.
I think that happens after. And I think the way to keep that going is to keep collaborating, keep making these writing camps, keep um, having, like, I don't know, like, things like what we're doing, having conversations. Keep having
Yeah.
conversations. Talk about it. Feel
Yeah.
it out. And go, and you don't need Music BC to have a writing camp. You don't need SoCan
Yeah.
to have a writing camp. You can go and get people together. I've done it so many times,
Yeah.
right? And then the plus is doing it with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say you just should physically do it. It also, like, I'm working with a group right now called Days of May,
Mhm.
and they've really, like, up the level of collaborative efforts, right?
Yeah.
And I'm saying this because there's three of them. They're all laptop geniuses. Like, they can
Yeah.
all make amazing music on the laptops, but they can also make amazing music on their instruments. So as
Yeah.
a producer, I let them do the button pressing. I'm not insecure about it. As a
Yeah.
producer, I let them come up with some great ideas, and then I tell them it's too much over here, or it's a little over there, and blah blah blah. And I do that thing that I'm doing, right? And what I'm
Yeah.
doing is exercising this muscle, the listening muscle,
Yep.
and
Yep.
that is everything. Just listening, 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 and then doing it more. And I'm encouraging them to do it with other people as well, right? Because it'll
Hmm.
make for a great record. And I just
Hmm.
took, in fact, I just took him to Toronto and we did a huge, uh, well, for us it was huge. We did a writing trip, and I put them together with one, two, three, four, at least five different people, different people,
Hmm.
and some of them are like up and coming, some of them are like legends, some of them are just like very relative, but they learn something from everyone, and I think we got to do that a lot more here.
Hmm.
It's a lot to pull from here.
Yeah. What do you think creates a career with longevity in this business?
Good songs. No,
Yeah.
I'm half kidding. I think just a good team, a
Hmm.
good manager, which I'm still I haven't enjoyed that yet. You know,
Yeah.
I've had managers that have done great things, but I don't think I have a good management experience in a whole. Right?
Yep.
It's a hard job. It's a hard job.
Yeah.
It's a thankless
Yeah.
job. It's a nameless job sometimes, but you got to find someone who's up for all of it, right? So that and having a good business team and then some of parts of it has to do with the stars aligning because
Hmm.
getting that song isn't the problem. You can get it and getting the success, like getting it out there and getting the notoriety, it can happen if you do all the right things. But getting there isn't the challenge. It's staying there.
Yeah.
Staying there is great because getting there is so relative now because you could be a success if you have like 5,000 streams, but 5,000 real fans. That's
Right.
that's very successful. That's a great career, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I did a record once, and I think it sold 12,000 copies. I probably did better than most signed artists that were out there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
It's
the
about having the engagement of your community,
yeah.
not just the, yeah.
So it's important to have a team that understands that
Yeah.
because once you get big, that's a lot more to manage. So you have to have someone that's up for it. You know, you have to have
Yeah.
a team. A part of that team has to be like a content team. It literally takes an entire team to do this because
Yeah.
the content team is your marketing team,
Yeah.
right? And having the right agent, like it takes a bunch of things, but the things that are within your power is to align yourself with people that think like you, like-minded
Yeah.
people, and that's going to get you to where you want and keep you there.
Yeah. Is there anything that you see often missed or misunderstood by up and coming uh, folks in the industry, artists,
Yeah,
producers, what have you?
yeah. They think it comes up overnight,
Yeah.
and then the other thing is they don't know the business of music. They don't know what publishing is. They don't know what a point system is. They don't know what a producer's job is. They don't know what a production point is. I recently went through something where I worked with an artist for years, and uh, literally, literally like a short while ago, um, the record they signed with a record company, and the record company was so excited because they said, "Oh, we're going to release that record that you did with them." I go, "Oh, great! We need to do a production point for contract with you, so we get the right points." And I'm like, "Okay, but I own the masters for the record." And then they're like, "Oh boy,"
Yeah.
and they're like, "The artist said he did." The artist said they own the record. I'm like, "No, they don't." I don't know what
Yeah.
they said and how they said it, but they don't. So I'm going through that right now. So I think
Yeah.
going into it, artists have to know, and there's no shame in not knowing. There's no shame in not knowing. I have no, and I'm one of those people that have no shame. I'll tell you so many things that I don't know because I want to know,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
there's just no shame in that.
Yeah.
So I think it's important. That's what it would take.
Yeah, I think those are important things to know, and the answers to those questions
Mm.
about all the mechanics of that,
Yeah.
like production points and royalties
Uh
and
huh.
like all of those things, the answers are accessible.
Yes.
I mean, here we've got SOCAN and we've got all of that information is a literally a web search and you can get to that information. You just have to know that you need to know it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem is that younger I don't mean necessarily age younger, but experience wise, younger artists don't always they just don't know what they don't know.
No, they don't know, and also it's also with older artists too. You
Yeah.
wouldn't believe some of the people
Yeah.
as old as they are what they don't know, and it's sad because there's so much shame. There's so much shame attached to not knowing,
Yeah.
and I'm just one of those people. I have no shame. I have absolutely no shame in saying I don't know something, even if
Yeah.
everybody in the room knows it. Even if it takes away from my credibility, like I will tell you that I don't know how that program works when the whole world uses it.
Yeah. 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 I think I hope that we are coming into an era when actually being forthright about what we don't know garners us more respect than trying to make up answers to cover the fact that we don't know.
Same.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's so needed right now because there's a whole bunch of information out there that,
That's fake news.
that's fake news, but also in general that people don't know. Like with the whole AI thing,
Yeah.
just get on it, learn about it, read it. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, me too.
It's important.
Yep. And it's actually not that hard.
No,
But yeah, you got to be willing to test the waters and do a little learning. Chin, is there anything that we haven't talked about today that you think is really important for up and coming artists to know?
I feel like we covered it. I just
Yeah.
think again, I want to emphasize just to ask questions. Don't be afraid of bad notes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid of bad notes because they always lead to the good notes. Um, Follow the feeling, that feeling, the
Mm-hmm.
instinct, that instinctive feeling, and I think we covered a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate your time today. It's such a pleasure hanging out with you and getting to pick your brain and talk music.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. I where can people find you? Let's talk about that.
You can
Socials, web, all of
Oh,
that
yeah.
stuff.
You can find me on Chinstagram,
Okay.
CHINSTO gram. I'm also on Spotify, and those are the two main ones I use. I should use the TikToks and all that, but I don't. I don't
Okay.
do all those things. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
Okay, great. Well, I will post links to those
Thank
in
you.
the show notes. And yes, thank you again for your time.
I appreciate you so much.
Always a pleasure.